Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap. Take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective, asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones. I do this show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, broadcast at 4:10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube, son of a channel, LA Little. And if you want to subscribe, just reach up in the right-hand corner, and anytime I push content, you'll get the content pushed to you. Today, after hours, well, first of all, you had Draghi this morning, didn't really do anything. Gave a little bit of support to the dollar, but really not much there. I mean, negligible, right, at best. Then you had the big tech fest after the hours. Microsoft, Intel, Google, Amazon, Starbucks. There was a whole bunch of big ones. And they all sold down with the exception of two, and that was the big guys, Amazon and Google, both of them up about 5%. That puts the NDX up in after hours. Microsoft actually clawed back from down about $2 and actually almost $3 given today's gains to almost even after hours. So you've got the big three all holding price. Intel, the only one, and not nearly as much weighting in it, but it was the one that did give it up in terms of price after hours. So once more, this market comes through in flying colors. Let's look at the numbers here, and it was showing today. I mean, the NDX, the Nasdaq itself, they were the ones that were holding higher all day long, and everything else was flat. Overseas, you got a little mild pullback. And the bonds slightly down, almost even. Gold gives up a little bit. Silver was down pretty big. Oil had a comeback. It was down quite a bit. So, when you look at this market, it's really hard to look at it and say anything bad. I mean, each and everything. Like last night, you had the indexes saying, hey, we could probably go higher. Of course, the Nasdaq NDX did. The others were flat. But you had the sectors saying something different, right? That you had a mixed picture there. But those sectors, a couple of them actually turned around, like the stocks. You had a huge volume yesterday, turns around, goes straight up today. And so tonight, you got a test failure at the swing point high. And now you actually got a failure. In other words, price and volume fell. And let me make sure of that, but I think it failed. Yeah, just slightly. But this is so close, right? It's hard to take much away from that when you've got this kind of a bullish move going on. So even though you have a slight failure there, you've got gains elsewhere. You've got the Nasdaq pushing to new highs after hours, newer highs. NDX, same thing, pushing the highs. And these we knew could push. The Russell was an inside day, so really not much on the Russell. If we go back to those sectors, though, I was talking about, last night we looked at the stocks, for example, had volume coming off that push. What does it do today? Gaps up and just keeps running all day long, breaks over swing point highs, and you got a new bullish trend confirmation. If you look at some of the sectors that look like they were going to pull back, they did, but very minor. By the end of the day, they'd all come right back. The over-under on the XLB was one example of it. One that didn't get it all back was the XLF, but didn't finish down that bad. I mean, it's down 0.5% or so. If you look at some of the other sectors, though, those that have been stretched, they keep stretching. Here's the XLY, the XLK, which actually had the reversal over-under last night. That one goes back to new highs, and you just go down the list. It doesn't quit. The only place that you can look for losses is in energy, and energy gave you some losses again today. This is one sector that has bled red all year long and continues. If I look overseas, I was saying there was a slight pullback today in the overseas markets, but again, we're talking minor. Here's the CACs after the election hanging right at the highs. If you look at the DAX doing the same thing. If you move over to the Switzy, the Switzerland market's just barreling higher, another day of up in those markets. If you go over to Shanghai, which was trying to break down, That one gets a nice little bounce. Now, actually, it left volume at the bottom, so I don't know if that one's done, but it did reverse today. Hong Kong, same sort of thing, still looking good. If I go to my friends up north, Canada, they actually got a pullback. They're in some sort of a range here at the highs. If we look at the fellows down under in Australia, nice big spike back up towards the highs here and sitting at the highs on a weekly time frame. It doesn't really matter where you look. The market keeps working its way higher. You've got a lot of optimism. The earnings aren't great, but the earnings are good enough, and they're concentrated in those areas that are keeping this market higher. One of the things I started to do before I came on the show here was to query the database and take a look at, what kind of breadth do we have on this market from a perspective of new highs, higher highs, say from January forward versus from November forward. I'm wondering if those are tailing off, and I suspect they are. I didn't quite get that data done, but I'll take a look at it tomorrow, and I'll let you know next week. That's it for tonight, folks. This market, you got a situation tomorrow. You got really just two of the big caps are going to try to power higher. You've got 4.5%, 5% gains on Amazon and Google. Microsoft will be a little bit of a different story. They missed on their numbers. And if they pull back, of course, that will negate that to some extent. What I did notice after hours, you had a big shoot up and then you came back down. I'm going to be very curious tomorrow to see if these big cap tech stocks can keep pulling this market higher. And if you haven't looked at it, it's 8 days gapping up in a row. That's how strong it's been. Have a great one. I'll see you next time. Good night.